Max, Connor, hey, congratulations on your guys' new film, Shift.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for
Thanks
having
for
us on.
having us on.
You know what? More of a congratulations. It made its premiere at Cinequest, and right now it's actually being played at CineJoy. How do you guys feel about that?
Great. Yeah, we're very excited. We were very excited to get into Cinequest and have a chance to come up there and play. We were there for a while, so it was a long time. It was fun to see all the other movies and to show ours on the big screen too.
How about for
Yeah,
you, Connor?
I mean, it was great to see it on the big screen, but now that it's playing at CineJoy, I'm glad I can share the link to any of my friends that couldn't make it out or, you know,
Yeah.
that lived on the East Coast.
Well said, well said. So, Max, I'm going to throw the first question to you is where the original idea came from. This is a particularly, I want to say, different and unique.
There was a friend of mine who actually brought an idea to me of a horror movie that was set in a storage unit facility, and I immediately jumped on the security monitor and just like from the security guard's perspective, and I pitched that to him, and he wasn't really into it, so I ended up working on the script and showed it to him, and he liked it, and then we kind of developed just this one room Hitchcockian rear window type of story around a security guard who's just watching these monitors and thinks he witnesses a murder and then wants to investigate it. Um, but it was pretty much immediate when he brought me the idea. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, let's see what happens if it's just all told from one room and from a security monitor perspective.
I know it is a pretty thrilling story, especially the fact that watching it, you have to see what comes next. So, Connor, what initially drew you to this project?
Well, I'm good friends with Max, and I think around the time he was beginning to develop the script, he's like, I think I've got an idea for you. I've got a part for you. And I'm actually not an actor. I'm not a trained actor. I'm just, I'm a friend. I usually work more on the producing side and writing, but he had a part for me and I'm a yes man. So I immediately said, sure, I'll do it. And I think something about the character, something about Tom, the main character's character, made Max associate it with me. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You'll have to see the film to judge. But yeah.
So Max, why did you cast Connor? What did you see him as the prime security guard in this role?
Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max,
Yeah,
why?
yeah. Way to put me on the spot right in front of Connor. No, honestly, it was Connor and I had been hanging out for a number of years, and we had been in different social situations together, just like, parties or alone together, watching movies, doing different things. And whenever we were in a different situation where we might have been uncomfortable, Connor always rose to the occasion and was able to make the most of it, even if he might have been uncomfortable in a situation. So when I was working on the story, I was like, well, I know Connor could do this, and I know that Connor is funny and he can be dramatic. So then I sort of built Tom around him. I always told Connor that he is not Tom, but Tom is a little bit of Connor. So it was they're definitely different entities, but I just knew that Connor would rise to the occasion and do a good job.
So Connor, how did you get in the headspace of Tom? Because being in a thriller movie, it's not that easy.
Yes, and I think this movie is sort of half a, comedy of late night boredom and night shift stuff, and then there's the thriller element too. So at least I think the day or night job in this case, mentality of what do you do when you're alone and bored, like I can get into that headspace pretty easy. It's definitely it took the skill of my co-stars to bring me to that thriller level, drama, fear, tears. Even my co-stars really helped, worked with me to bring me to that level. I was just, I don't know, acting is reacting, blah blah blah. I reacted off their great performances, and it helped me get to that level for sure.
So Max didn't have to like lock you in a room by yourself for days just to get into character, right?
I mean, that's the shooting the movie was that, so I think
Yeah,
I
right.
I
Exactly.
did that, and he did that inadvertently. Uh,
So, Max, the storage facility itself is a character on its own. Tell us about the location that you actually commandeered for your film.
Yeah. Actually, Connor found it. So Connor was a producer for a while, and then he stepped back into the role of Tom. But we were shot in Burbank in LA, just outside of LA, and It was just this perfect little storage facility, and they let us come in for 4 days, and basically we shot 3 hallways at a time, and we had to run through the entire movie. So I was basically there with our script supervisor being like, all right, now we're going to do this scene. And we went through the whole script, and we would shoot the actors walking all the way through all 3 monitors, and then we'd have them exit all 3. And then they would go back to wardrobe, and we would shoot again. And it was just this crazy kind of song and dance of actually building the monitor sequences together. And the room itself, you know, we wanted to make it Tom's own, but that's a set that we built after the fact. So that actually isn't connected to the monitors themselves. But the facility was great. You know, they kind of let us do whatever we wanted to do. It looked exactly like we wanted it to look. It was kind of grungy and had this interesting, just deep, long hallways. You didn't know exactly where you were going. So it was spooky and creepy and fun to shoot in.
So cinematography wise, your cinematographer, how did the cinematographer set up the shots? And was it just regular cameras, or did you actually have to set up like your own CCTV cameras through this process?
Yeah, so we set up 3 A7Ss for the security footage, and we would just hang them on the ceiling, and then we would shoot whatever scene we were shooting. The next day, we did it for 3 more hallways. The next day, we did it for the last 3 hallways. And then when we actually got into the room, we were shooting on an Alexa, so an Alexa Mini. So we had a really nice cinema camera when we were actually in the room, but he had to combine those 2 footage and, you know, time out those movements. And it was, you know, the cinematography was amazing, and we did had really great camera movements, and Eddie Zaffino was our dolly grip. And Bobby was amazing at being really patient with trying to figure out what these moves were going to be. And then Ben Betts cut all of the security monitor footage together so we could play it back live for Connor and the rest of our actors to kind of respond to. So definitely it was an interesting combination of, you know, just practical cinematography and with editing and just timing in general.
So Connor, how was it what was it like you know, acting with those, you know, those different type of you know, camera productions in the hallways of the storage facility yourself?
I mean, in the hallways of the facility, it's interesting because you don't really see the cameras. They're way up, they're small, they're way up in the corners. So, and that was the first week of shooting, so it gave me time to get into that headspace, and there aren't really lines of dialogue in those scenes. So it feels weird just walking. It's a lot of just walking in a certain way through hallways, you know. I'd get notes from Max like, okay, walk faster, you know, walk more aggressively, or walk, you know. And it was interesting to shoot all the hallway scenes in a few days because you're going through the whole script and all the different emotions that the story goes through, just, you know, one after the other. So you just have to remember, okay, I'm walking down the hallway right after this happened. I'm walking, you know, or right before this big, you know, moment's about to happen in the room. So it was a lot of getting, you know, changing headspaces, but most of the acting is just in your gait or in your
Yeah,
facial expression that the camera may or may not be picking up.
everyone loved it. Yeah, they were really excited about it.
I know. I do have to admit that the editing was very clever, especially when you're scanning through all the different monitors. Tell us about that process. You know, trying to lead the story by having us look at the CCTVs.
Yeah, so you know that was always in the script. The script is very much written like on whatever monitor, on whatever monitor, on whatever monitor. There's not a ton of dialogue in the script. So when we actually got to the practical shooting aspect of it, Ben Betts was our co-producer, and he came in, and while we were shooting everything, he was actually editing that footage together. So we essentially shot the movie twice. So he edited all of the 9 security monitor footage together, and then we moved into our soundstage where we could play it back live. And that editing process was essentially already finished. So we could just track as we wanted to along the monitors. And once we got into the actual editing room and post-production, we had so much coverage of the monitors. I wanted to make sure that we could shoot almost any sequence we wanted in a one take if we needed to, where we could track people moving. And it was just kind of a song and dance of working with Grant to make sure that all the continuity was matching up, that there was these movements all made sense. So we tried from an early perspective, from the cinematography standpoint, to just like make sure you knew exactly how people walked through this facility, so that once we got to the later portions of the movie, we could cheat it a little bit, or, you know, make some time jumps if we needed to.
Yeah, and and Connor mentioned about the rest of the cast because you know Connor himself admitted that he's not a actual actor, but the rest of the cast actors too, or you just brought a bunch of.
Yeah. No. Allison McAtee and Sean O'Brien both are they're very seasoned. They've been in the game for a long time and they're excellent actors. And I think they definitely took Connor under their wing and helped him out. And Connor did a great job in and of himself, but they were definitely, veterans that were capable of being a guiding light through some scenes. Even for me as a first time director, they were helpful to have on set because they kind of knew what you wanted or could give you multiple takes of different scenes. And so in the editing room, we could find the best version of it.
Wow. So in the end, Connor, what did you learn?
Well, I learned that I love acting, so I mean, there's that, and it reinvigorated my faith in the movie business as a whole because it was the first time really with my friends building a whole feature, which is what I've always wanted to do here, and being a part of that team of friends and new friends made along the way. It was really, I don't know, it was reinvigorating for me as a filmmaker, and I'm definitely excited to act more and continue on this road.
So for you, Max, being this your first time directing, what was the greatest challenge for you?
Um, that's a good question. Honestly, I think it was just I typically work as a producer, and largely as a producer, you're hands-on, but you're making sure that everyone else is happy and capable of doing their job. And when all of the creative decisions are kind of coming down on your shoulders, it's a different sort of pressure than just making sure that all the pieces are in place. So you have to kind of decide what the puzzle looks like rather than just making sure that someone else can put it together. That was probably the most difficult portion, especially as we were in the set itself, trying to figure out what these long movements were going to be, how we were going to cheat either Connor, Sean, or whoever's walking through the monitors into the room. There was just a lot of song and dance to try to put as simple as the movie is in one room. It is fairly complicated as far as the tech aspect portion of it goes. And that was just a lot of thinking and days of planning that I don't think I was used to.
Now remind me about I'm going to bring something random up is the core of the the security guard office. You guys put a poster on the wall. Is that one of your guys' favorite movies that you guys just randomly wanted to
It's
kind of
funny.
put
Yeah,
an
we actually,
Easter egg into the film?
yeah, it kind of took on a life of its own because Night of the Living Dead does pop up a couple of times as the movie progresses. But in the original script, I can't remember what the movie was, and I need to look it up because people always ask this question. But there was a different movie poster that was on the wall. And I think it had a little bit more to do with the whole noir aspect of filmmaking, but we couldn't get the rights to it, and Night of the Living Dead's in the public domain. So we were like, oh, this works. And then we were able to just kind of craft some jokes and some more tension around it. And it's nice that Barbara is just kind of looking at you the whole time.
Most excellent. So what's up next for the both of you?
I've got a couple shorts in post-production, and then I'm producing a couple features this year. But no directing or writing on the docket just yet. Going to see Shift out and then get some other producing credits under my belt.
And how about for you, Connor?
As for me, no current acting plans, so I'm available. No, but I do have a script option that I'm working on, and that's sort of where my focus is currently. But I'm hoping once Shift has made the rounds and I've cut a reel together, I can get back into the acting game as well.
Well said, well said. But I say the most important question for last, and of course, the chair itself is a character. How did you cast? No, no,
That was a process.
yeah,
Won't lie to you.
casting the chair. No, why did you have the chair as a character in the film itself?
So she also evolved a little bit in the editorial process. In the script, Grace Kelly is always a character. She's always sitting there. She's always squeaking and turning. We would always have parentheses, like a sardonic squeak or a sarcastic squeak. And then when we were in the editing room, the movie has some David Lynch influences and there's some weird soundscapes that are going on. And our editor and a couple of the producers were like, what if we actually gave her a voice? And we were like, oh, that's an interesting idea. So then we just started to work with dropping lines in that she could say. So it was largely a post production decision. And you know, we always wanted her to feel like she was on set and was a character, and it was always funny, at least for me, when actors would be like, can Grace Kelly move, or is she in this position she needs to be in? And I was like, good, I'm glad you think that she's real, because she is. But then, you know, as we added in lines, we just kind of kept rounding out everything about her, everything that we wanted characters to know and not know, and give her a personality. It was a fun process.
It does sound like a fun process, and especially for you, Connor, being a an unseasoned actor, and your one of your co-stars is the chair itself.
Yeah, I mean, when I said my co-stars were very supportive, I was being literal.
Most excellent.
And I looked it up. I looked it up. The original poster was going to be Psycho, but the 1999 remake.
Oh wow, yeah, wow,
That's
what a great reference.
Good man.
That is a very
Yep.
good reference, especially for a thriller just like Shift. Well,
Yeah, we'll pat ourselves on the back.
gentlemen, thank you very much for carrying this conversation about Shift. Everyone could check it out now for CineJoy, and hopefully it'll be appearing at more film festivals down the road for both of you. So we really appreciate you giving us this talk and your experiences about the film.
Yeah, thank you for having us on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.